Hi everyone, my name is Charlie, and today I have my April wrap-up. I have been awake since 3 a.m, and so I don't know what this is going to be like. We all know that April, in terms of reading, didn't read many books. Really, I'm finding fiction, prose a bit, I don't know, boring at the moment. But let's talk about some of the books. So, the first book I read in April was Anansi Boys by Neil Gaiman. Loved that book, thought it was great. And you have a review of that, so you can go and watch that. It's a great blend of African myth and folklore in an urban fantasy setting, and almost like an everyman comedy for the early 2000s. Next, Buddy read Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith with I buddy read this with Liz Schubert. We didn't necessarily care for the book, but I really appreciated the buddy read, and I'm looking forward to buddy reading more books with Liz and other readers in future. Then I read And After Many Days by Joa Ili, and this is a piece of Nigerian fiction which focuses heavily on politics in, I believe, the rainy season of 1995. And this character of, I can't think, I remember it began with an A and an I, but Aji. And he is the last person who was at home when his brother left and never returned. And it is during this big climate of political upheaval. And it is an exceptional book that, once again, it blends myth and folklore, but not. This book isn't a mythic book. It isn't a fantastical book, but there is an energy to the prose that seems almost mystical, and the characters are such strong characters, and I connected with this book so much because I come from a rather large family myself, so to see another very close-knit, big family represented in fiction was great for me, and I wholeheartedly enjoy this book, and I'm hoping to give it a fuller review in future. But if you are looking for a great piece of fiction, it's rather short, but it does what some long books strive to do in such a short space of time, spanning family history and family tradition and, once again, family folklore, because I think that we forget that every family is individual, and every family's history has its own folklore. It has its own fairy tales and its own way of telling fairy tales. And I think that because we've become so focused in modern times of everyone having to have the same sorts of things and the same sorts of lifestyles, and because we've become so involved in telling people what's the best thing to have, we don't actually ever allow ourselves to remember where we came from. And I think that this is a great piece of fiction for just saying, you know what, sit down for a minute and I'm going to tell you a story. And there's a great piece of fiction, great piece within it, where, because it's told in parts, and part of the story ends, and you're like, well, I really wanted to hear this story that you were going to tell here, and you've not told it. And I knew that it was going to become important, and it did become important, and it just blew my mind. And this has fast become one of my favourites of the year. And then I read Escape from Sunset Grove by Mina Lundgren. This is another book, the sequel to Death in Sunset Grove, that I read earlier this year, and I recorded a review for that. So know that I enjoy that book, but it's definitely a book to enjoy for the characters. But if you do like books about older people, nonagenarian people getting up to all sorts of escapades that you wouldn't normally associate with people of their age group, then I do believe that that is a book for you. And them's the books. Only 4, but there were a few books in there where I started them, but I don't have the drive to finish them, and I just can't be bothered to read books that I not particularly fond of at the moment. I don't know whether there's a certain amount of procrastinating on my half where I have been watching YouTube and putting YouTube and BookTube and in front of reading, but it's definitely just because I've not found anything to wow me yet. If you have read any of these books, please feel free to comment telling me your thoughts, and also I do hope to actually record a full review of And After Many Days. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.